Right perception of me.
Yeah.
That's right. You got the right perception.
Yeah, so I called them to ask him when meeting.
Okay, my companions.
Oh no,
It's 1 o'clock,
so I was like,
and I'm going to start right on time. Yeah. Thank you for showing up today. It was a little bit of a traffic jam out there on the parking side. I don't know if you had it, but I sure did this morning coming in.
Me too.
Yeah.
Lots going on out there.
But I love that we were committed and dedicated to come in anyway and get our weekly torture session.
yeah.
Let's start it. That's right. So, I'm going to start out by doing the guidelines like I always do, just like the flight attendant on an airplane, so y'all can just look around and talk and read magazines while I give you the give you the guidelines.
Check your
Well, I always
phones.
pay attention to the flight attendant.
You do. You're such a good guy, John.
I'm the only one.
Of course you would.
And the guidelines go something like this. Remember only this. I say, remember only this. Spunk guidelines. You need not believe the ideals. You need not believe the ideas. You need not accept the ideas. You need not accept the ideas. You need not even welcome the ideas. You need not even welcome the ideas. Some of the ideas you may actively resist. Some of the ideas you may actively resist.
Can't resist that though.
You don't have to resist that. You don't have to resist that.
That boogie shocker kicking in.
You don't have to resist that. Some of the ideas you will find hard to believe. Some of the ideas you will find hard to believe. And others may seem to be quite startling. And others may seem to be quite startling. You are not asked to judge the ideas at all. You are not asked to judge the ideas at all. You'd have thought that time did just like that.
Yeah. Perfect.
And others may seem to be quite startling. And others may seem to be quite startling. Some of these ideas may seem to be quite startling. I'll say that again, especially for today's. Some of these ideas may startle you. Their use will give the ideas meaning to you and 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 will show you that the ideas are true. Holy Spirit, show me that the ideas are true. Holy Spirit, show me that the ideas are true. Loving Spirit, show me that the ideas are true. Loving Spirit, show me that the ideas are true. What? Show me that the ideas are true. Loving Spirit, show me that the ideas are true. 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 Well, I'm going to be, welcome to the Course of Miracles, welcome to Facebook Live. I'm going to greet everybody that's watching online. We got our mighty companion family online from all over the globe. And those videos are getting something like, on Facebook, something like 20,000 views a month.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I pack them in. I pack them in, but I'm like the Garth Brooks of the Course.
That's so funny. I was totally
Could you you imagine? Could you? Garth Brooks was here last weekend. I like Garth. He got he got a really cool spirit. And what that would feel like as an entertainer to perform in front of 84,000 people came to Broncos Stadium to see him. He took off for almost 20 years to raise his family at the peak of his career. And he comes back and he's packing them like that all over the country. And so he has a lot to learn about specialness. But God has a need to be really special at some level. But no, he's fulfilling his function. See, I believe that, when you reach that kind of fame, that was part of your destiny. You came here to learn some lessons that would come from that many people. The more I study the truth, the more I realize that we all, just like the Course in Miracles says, we all have an individual curriculum. And if we were to get in touch with our curriculum, we would have, the promise is that we would have a much easier life. And the way you can tell when you're not following your individual curriculum is because you're struggling. It's really, I wish it's not really complicated. So today I'm going to cover a section that I think will fall into the category of hard to believe and quite startling. It's lesson 152 in the workbook. It's called The Power of Decision is My Own. I call it the pod. The power of decision, the pod. The pod is my own. And it's on lesson 152 in the workbook on page 281. The power of decision is my own, which is the same as the pod. So we're all getting potty training. Because we've been messing on ourselves enough. Instead of Pampers, we was wearing Tampers. So we got tampered with. Oh, I just got a million of them. I don't know where they come from. I don't know. I'm just channeling. So I'm going to go through the paragraph and read through it first, come back line by line, and just say, what are we hearing? Because I'm the divine repetition teacher. My goal is what the Course says, to repeat it until we hear what it's saying. Because most people don't even hear the Course before they start to analyze it. They really haven't even heard what it's saying. And then I'll open it up for any kind of questions or comments. And then we'll go to the next one, because as far as we go, it will be as far as we need to go. Because you could use any one of these. You could walk out here today and just go, the power of decision is my power, and don't remember anything else, and you could change your experience. And the Course says another synonym for power, for decision from a Course perspective is choice. The power of choice. I call myself, the Holy Spirit told me, you'll get to the point if you do this long enough that you really do get the voice of your ego out of the way enough to start hearing the voice of the Holy Spirit within yourself. That's not just a metaphor. It's really true. And one of the things that we need to begin to get is that we are unlimited spiritual beings having a human experience. So the best way to be human is to realize you're not.
Yes.
Really, the nicest, kindest, most loving, conscious beings are not the ones who have complete human identification. They're the beings who have a spiritual identification that they're trying to embody in a physical human form.
True.
The people who think they're human only are nuts. And they're sweet, but they're crazy. Because they think they're separate from everybody.
Right.
Because they don't breathe.
And that's what the Course would call insanity, when you forget our underlying oneness. And so this section is really one of those sections that really just calls it and tells it like it is. So that's why I think it's important to realize we don't have to accept it. So I'm going to read through it first, and then we'll go through it. Okay. Okay, let's see here. No one can suffer loss unless it be his decision. No one can suffer loss unless it be his own decision. No one suffers pain except his choice elects this state for him. No one suffers pain unless his choice elects this state for him. No one can grieve, nor fear, nor think him sick unless these are the outcome he wants. And no one dies without his own consent. 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 Nothing occurs but represents your wish. Nothing occurs but what represents your wish. Nothing occurs but what represents your wish, and nothing is omitted that you choose. Nothing is omitted that you choose. Nothing is omitted that you choose. Here is your world. Here is your world, described by Earl. Here is your world, complete in all its details. Complete in all its details. Complete in all its details. Here is its whole reality for you. Here is its whole reality for you, and it is only here salvation lies, and it is only here your peace lies. Here is its whole reality for you. The power of decision is your own. The power of decision is my own. What? The power of decision is my own. The power of decision is my own. Okay. So if somebody is suffering any form of loss, do you know that the Course in Miracles just told us that it was because they decided to? Mm-hmm. So wherever you are experiencing what you perceive as being lost in any way, according to the Course, it's your own decision. Wherever anybody you know is experiencing loss in any form, it is their decision. It's not necessarily their decision at the level of their ego. Obviously, it's not the level of decision at the level of your ego that you would choose to lose something. It's not at the level of your ego, because your ego is the part of you that would never assume responsibility for losing. It's the part of you that would be attributing the loss to everything and everybody else in situations and circumstances. The next sentence says, no one suffers pain except his choice elects this state for him. So is that telling us that whenever a person even experiences pain, at some level, they chose it? Now you see where it says you don't have to believe it, you don't have to accept it, you don't have to welcome it. It might be hard to believe, you might have active resistance. Okay, it's also saying to us, it doesn't matter. It doesn't change the truth. You can have any reaction you want, but it doesn't change a fact. One of my favorite lines from A Course in Miracles is the line that says, there's no sense in being angry at a fact. Right? You know, I'm sitting here in the chair, that's a fact. How I am responding to sitting in the chair, no matter what reactions I have about it or reactions you have about it, I'm still sitting in the chair. So the fact is, you have never lost anything in your life that it wasn't at some level your decision to lose it. The fact is, you've never gone through pain except when you chose it for yourself at some level. The fact is, nobody can grieve or fear or even be sick unless that's an outcome that they want. And nobody dies without their own consent. These are radical ideas. I bet you will not hear this on the NBC Evening News. They were kind of like I was watching Bill Maher, Politically Incorrect, on Friday, and it was somebody on there that was bashing Marianne Williamson because she had the audacity to talk about if she was president, she would have a Department of Love. See, that's crazy to crazy people. See, anybody with the least bit of sanity would know that that's a good idea. That's the thing about being and looking at my projections, because everything in the world is a projection from our one mind. So I'm listening to what I'm saying through somebody else's body, just like you're listening to what you're telling yourself through mine right now. And the Course says, when you think you're separate and you don't want to own your thoughts, you just see someone else's having them. So then it just becomes all of my thoughts. I'll call it that's your beliefs, your beliefs, your beliefs. But the truth is, if it's just one mind, it's all my belief. But I have the beliefs I identify with, which is called Earl, so that I can pretend that the rest of these ideas that come through you are not mine. But either we're one or we're not. See, and we want to compromise on that. Either there's one mind or there's not. So the Course is telling us if that's true, then there's nothing that happens that we are not consenting to at some level, even if it's a level we don't know about. And the Course says nothing occurs, like when I had those 5 people that I was close to that I knew that made their transition at the same time in a car accident last month. They were all siblings. And it's like they were the last 5 siblings of 13 siblings in that family. One of them made their transition, so it was actually 6, because one of them made their transition on Monday of that week, and they had his quote unquote funeral, and then the other 5 were in the car accident on Thursday. And there was one person that survived that, and she was my partner that I lived with for like 20 years before I moved here. She was the only person that survived the car accident in the body. And she got into the Course in Miracles a week after I got into the Course in Miracles. I turned her on to the Course, so we had both equally we've been studying the Course almost 40 years. She not only survived the accident, she survived the accident and there wasn't a scratch on her. And the paramedics came and they were freaked out because they'd never seen an accident where everybody made their transition and the person that was left wasn't critically injured. She don't even know how she got out the car. She's outside the car with her cell phone in her hand on the highway out on the highway because they were going to a wedding in California. And not only was she able to get out and the car was completely demolished, it went under a semi-trailer. And so she saw her relatives make a transition in front of her face and was outside the car, not a scratch on her, with her cell phone so she could call. And people hear stuff like that and they try to insight. They be trying to like rationalize. I say, we said we believe in this spiritual intervention. We said we believe in something greater than us. We said, but the minute we have something happen that's not ordinary, we want to try to, go, well, how could that happen? It was a miracle. That's all you could call something like that. And she immediately had to shift her way of looking at it, which I, supported her in doing, because the way the Course teaches to look at it was what helped her keep her sanity through all the rest of the stuff that had to be dealt with, the funerals and all that stuff. She couldn't look at it like we look at it without being totally overwhelmed. But if she could look at it as they were not their bodies, and at some level they consented, and at some level that was their choice, and that they wanted their soul had done whatever it was supposed to do at this level here, and so they've gone to another level, which the Course says is our natural state, which the Course says our natural state is to be without a body.
True.
That's actually unnatural, to be hanging around in something as limited as this, that you stub your toe and you hop around for 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? It's like this is fragile stuff. And nothing that loves you is going to put you in fragile stuff forever. Right? I mean, when you really think about it, how could a loving God come up with that? How could a loving God come up with you losing your relatives in a car accident? Because you didn't. Now, Do you pretend, do you grieve? Yes. Do you feel all your feelings around that because that person isn't physically in your experience? Yes. But that still doesn't change the fact they have left their body. Now you got two choices. You can either look at that in such a way that it freaks you out all the time and you're totally pained so much that you can't hardly function, or you can look at it in a way that'll make you envious. You know, you look at it in a way that, in other words, at the very least, you give yourself more peace. And that's what the Course in Miracles, to me, is saying to us all the time. You all need to change your perception. You need to change the way you look at things. You all are busy trying to change the physical circumstances without changing the way you look at the physical circumstances, and you're wondering why you're unhappy all the time. So you need to understand you're powerful. So you may not know that. Why? Because you weren't taught it. So you weren't taught that nothing occurs but represents your wish, that everything that's happening to you is what you wish. You're not taught that, I love this line, nothing is omitted that you choose. If I choose it, it's not going to be omitted. So everything that's happening to me is exactly what I want to happen to me. However I'm seeing everything that's happening to me is how I want to see it, because I have options and I'm choosing the way I see it. So even if you can't leap to you're the creator of your experience, you can certainly make the leap to I am the creator of how I see my experience. And that's what I tell people. Don't even try. If you're not ready to jump to you wouldn't die without your consent, then jump to how I see death. I'm responsible for that. How I see loss, I'm responsible for. So because I'm not going to spend an hour defending these ideas, because you're either ready for them or you're not. That's the other thing I've learned in 4 decades of teaching. People either walk through the door and they're ready to open their minds probably wider than they've ever, or that they were like me. It's more like they're remembering something they already know, and somebody's telling them something they already realize. Because there are two types of people that come to metaphysical classes: those who the concepts really are brand new and they're just being introduced to, and that's a blessing, or those who feel like, finally, I'm not crazy. That I thought the world, because when I was a kid, I just thought everybody was crazy. I can remember that, so I was just like, y'all crazy. Because y'all are acting like there's problems in the world that couldn't be solved. I mean, as a kid, I would go like, they hungry, feed them. They need somebody to stay, give them a house.
Right.
But that didn't fit capitalism or specialness or competition. Like we act like it's like there's not a problem that we have in the world that compassion and understanding and caring about each other could not. They were saying something like, I think they were saying something like $82 billion at the level of the world would eradicate hunger. That you could actually get rid of the hunger on the planet for about $82 billion. You know, and Bezos that owns Amazon is worth $147 billion by itself. You know, he needs that. You know, so I'm not knocking it. That's part of his spiritual lesson. I am Bezos. You are Bezos. We're the people that's starving, as well as the people who are rich. It's all us. It's all us. So the Course is saying, how, and then the Course says the audacity to tell me that there's nothing missing that I've chosen. If I've chosen it, it's here. If it's not here, I don't want it. Then I have to get really honest with myself. Oh, my financial situation is exactly what I want it to be. My relationship situation is exactly what I want it to be. My career situation, my health situation, I can just go down the line. If that's true, I have as much money as I want to have. And you do too. You have as much love as you want, as much, whatever it is you have, or not, or don't have. So the Course is saying, here is your world, complete in all details. Here is this whole reality for you, and it's only here salvation, which is right-mindedness, which is healing, which is forgiveness, which is peace. Because I can forgive you if I did it to myself and you didn't do it to me. See, that's the other thing about taking 100% responsibility. Because if you are treating me the way I am unconsciously ordering you to treat me as a consciousness and a spiritual being, then I need to change my mind and have my mind healed. You aren't the one that did anything to me. I did it to myself through you. See, you have to be really mature to jump to a level like this. I don't expect little children's souls to do it, so don't text me, okay? All right? I know you got 100 yes buts. I could give you a lot of yes buts. Those were 5 people that I knew for 40 years that I just got to telling you about. I can think about my own periods that I've dealt with different things in my own physical life. So when I say that, I'm included in that too. I could just as easily look at things in my life and go, wait a minute now. But I'd rather believe I somehow was connected to it than think it was always happened randomly to me that I have nothing to do with. I don't see the payoff in the victim consciousness. I can kind of see the payoff in the victim consciousness if you were in a compassionate world. It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, if we were in the compassionate world, you go, oh, I'm just a victim and everything's being done to me and I have nothing to do with that, so I'm looking for somebody to rescue me. You in the wrong reality. This is not a world where people jump to your aid real quick to give you stuff to help you out. And why? Because that makes you at some point have to take a look at yourself. Sometimes what we look at as suffering is really the fastest way to get us to get off our butt and change our mind. It's not necessary, but let's face it, that's what it takes for most people to change. I see very few people change whose back is not up against the wall. It's just like, you give us an inch, we're going to take it. You give us another inch, we're going to take it. So the Course in Miracles is saying what? Basically, I'm responsible for what I see. Like the prayer in the Course, the keys of salvation. I choose the feelings I experience. I decide on the goal I will achieve. And everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for and receive as I've asked. Now, what you could say to help you with that is, I don't know how I created that, but I created that. I don't know why I created that, but I created that. So that's the way I do it. I don't get into did I really create that car wreck? Well, we can debate that all night, but we don't have to debate that. It's up to you how you want to see the car wreck. See, the Course says whenever you deal with theoretical issues, it's a delaying maneuver. So I don't get into theoretical issues with people. I'm not going to sit up here and debate reincarnation or debate who Helen was or is it Jesus or not. What I can do right now, though, is take responsibility for my experience and how I see it. I can say that I am choosing what I'm experiencing. So before I go to the next paragraph, any questions or comments about this paragraph? Yeah.
I used to think this was a random universe and that something was going to jump out and get me all the time. As a child, I remember watching the little ant pile and putting my foot in the middle of it and thinking, where's the big foot? Like this world.
To the ant too with a big foot, right?
This ant is getting a big foot and I'm getting a big foot too.
Right.
And then I realized from your help and lots of other help that it's not random and it feels so free.
I love what you
to
said.
be able to say, like you said, to be able to say, I created this, right, wrong, or indifferent, here it is.
And nothing happens, and it says right there in the book, nothing happens by chance.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as an accident.
So,
really.
yeah, and then, like every week you give us ways that we can change what's happening to ourselves by changing our perception.
That's why I say don't try to focus on what you can disagree with. We can all do that because we all got different ways of looking at things, right? What we want to look at is how can I benefit out of what I just heard? And what part of what I just heard can I use right now?
I was just going to say that I think it's really important to apply the other aspects of the book to things like this, because when I read that paragraph, what initially comes up for me is guilt. Right? When I look at all the different things in the world, I'm like, oh my gosh, I created this. But it also says the way out of this is to know that I'm innocent. Right. And so that it's like, as those feelings come up, I need to also use the Course to deal with those feelings. It's like, okay, I can take more ownership if I realize that the way out of it is to give myself peace and to give myself innocence about it.
Absolutely. And then the only reason why you should have a special relationship, which is to be in a relationship with someone reminding you of what you just said.
Yes.
See, that's the purpose of a relationship, is that person is to help you with your amnesia.
Yes.
When you forget, when you go to sleep, not to make sure you have somebody when you're old.
Keep you guilty till the day you die.
That's right. Some people get with people that remind them they're guilty till the day they die. Yeah, that's their point, is to never let me forget how crappy I am. Right? And so, which is sad, because I'll see people put more, and I said this many times, I will see people put more energy into relationships where the people abuse them verbally and mistreat them than they ever put energy into the person that's treating them kind and nice. They'll always make time for the a-hole. But then they don't have time for the friends they always enjoy being with, or who they have only had peaceful times with. The people that I have the most peaceful times with are the ones I see the least. Actually, if I be honest with myself. You know, there are people in this room, based on the experiences we've had with each other, we should see each other more often, but we don't. But the person you got the challenge with, that you need a lot of challenge, I bet you that's the person that you to see you within 24 hours. If I say I want to see you, you're going to say 3 weeks out. The measure of specialness is how quick you can be with the person that you want to see. If you're not really special, y'all will be scheduling everything 2 or 3 or 4 weeks out. But I've never seen anybody have no time for their special partner. If their special partner called them up today and said, I want to see you tomorrow night, they're going to say, okay, how are we going to work that out? You know, y'all know I'm telling the truth. You would not schedule me 3 weeks out if I was your lover. Specialness is equal to how soon we connect and how often, if we're in physical vicinity. That's different if you have a long distance. I know there are always yes buts, so we just put that in anything I say. Okay, it's gonna be a yes but. Yeah.
Yes, but.
Yeah. I know.
But.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to acknowledge out loud that there's part of this that I'm still resisting in paragraph 1, called the physical pain that I've experienced, I've chosen.
Yes.
And I'm willing to suspend that judgment and just keep hearing it, keep allowing myself to hear it.
And that's why I go through the flight attendant for the truth, right? Because that's why it's so brilliant to me that Jesus said, you don't have to believe it. And then it said, and I got this right from the Course. People hear me saying this, I'm not making this up. It says, remember only this, that you don't have to believe it, accept it, welcome it, that you're going to find it hard to believe. Why? Because how am I going to hear something so radically different from everything that I believe unless I can suspend my have to believe it for a minute? Then I'll let you say it to me. You know, I've had many people tell me that the reason why they stuck around my class was when I said that to them the first time they came. Then it wasn't like they were coming to another place where somebody's trying to convert them. You know. And if it's the truth, it's going to be true whether I believe it or not. Anyway, that's what's so cool about the truth. It doesn't depend on my belief. Thank God it's something that doesn't depend on my belief. So, anybody else before I go to the next paragraph?
The part that I resist is when I see children suffering, that I am accountable, that's me too, and so I appreciate what you said about, and I'm innocent, because man, that one gets me.
Well, see, you couldn't come to that conclusion if you haven't ever studied the material.
Right.
Megan was able to say that because she's read the whole thing. See, that's what I'm saying. If you don't study some spiritual curriculum or be enlightened, then you're going to have to know what truths to go to tell yourself so that you can handle this stuff. But if you never study, never meditate, or you don't have a good sense of, and I'm not saying it has to be the Course. I say that all the time. The Course in Miracles is not for everybody. You know, it's not. Thank God that the Creator is brilliant enough to let it come to us in whatever way would be best for us. But it is for me. And so if I can be of assistance to other people who it is their path or not, then I want to do that. But what I just told you about, the person I was just telling you about, I'm looking at that and I'm watching someone use the Course in Miracles to go through something that's more mind-boggling than anything I could have imagined. And especially one of them was a mother. And so that's being able to walk the walk instead of talking. Then when you find people freaking out about the stuff that people be upset about, it just kind of blows your mind. Then watch somebody go through something like that and watch them stand in their truth and stand in their spirit and call on this and use all of this to take them through to the other side and still using it. That's a teacher. A teacher is a demonstrator. Yes.
Going to say that, another thing that the Course says is that Holy Spirit will use anything that happens to us as potentially like a path to wake up. And so I have to believe that if that's true for me, I have to believe it's true for you too. And that includes children, that the Holy Spirit could use the things that they go through to wake them up, to find peace, to find love. And it's really hard, but in different circumstances, and then to remember that there's no order of difficulty. That's very hard for my mind to interpret in many different situations. But then just to remember that if I truly believe that there's a loving Holy Spirit that's working in my life, the only way I can truly know that I believe that is that if I also truly believe it for you, because I'm always projecting my own thoughts about myself onto you. And so if I don't think there's a loving God or a Holy Spirit that's like working in my life or transforming these things that I call pain into something that would give me love or bring me to love, then I'm not going to believe it's true for you either.
And that's why I was saying at the very beginning about it's everybody else also making their own choice, because there's a tendency to begin to accept the truth for ourselves and still act like our friends and relatives are victims, and not realizing that if it applies to me, it applies to them too. And so that child somehow or another, if this is true, it is serving some awakening or evolutionary spiritual process, even if I don't understand how and I don't understand why. Because I didn't think when I was young, I didn't think it was fair that we only lived one time, but we didn't start all equally. But the way I was taught in my religion was that we all had to go through judgment, and it was going to be determined whether we went to heaven or hell, whether you were born with a challenged body or a normal body. You know, and I was like, no, hey, this is not a level playing field. So it doesn't make sense that, any kind of a loving creator would say we all have one shot. Or else, we got to all get it equally. So the Course says it doesn't matter whether you believe in reincarnation or not. But if you do, then Spirit will use it. And if you don't, you still learn this, you'll get a chance to learn the same lesson. But it just made more sense to me. I just didn't believe that we could screw up as much as we have in one lifetime. I'm sorry. It made more sense to me to think it's been happening over a little while here, And if you check in with yourself, you will remember that deep down in your gut and beyond your gut, there's a part of you that knows this is not your home. We know that. So let's hit the next paragraph. Thank you for sharing. That was awesome. Because all of y'all have wonderful things to say. You and me, and I'm brilliant. And cute too.
Don't forget juicy.
And juicy.
Juicy and sweet.
Don't forget, not just juicy and sweet. You may believe, check this out. You may believe that this position is extreme and too inclusive to be true. Yet can truth have exceptions? Can truth have exceptions? If you have the gift of everything, can loss be real? Can pain be part of peace, or grief, or joy? Can fear and sickness enter in a mind where love and perfect holiness abide? Truth must be all-inclusive. Did you hear that? Truth must be all-inclusive, if it be the truth at all. Truth must be all-inclusive, if it be the truth at all. It's got to be all-inclusive. Accept no opposites and accept no exceptions, for to do so is to contradict the truth entirely. Now, the reason why I do it to music is when people listen back to it, it's hard to ignore something that's in a rhythm. If I'm just talking and people are listening to it, then you can totally tune it out. It's difficult to tune something out that's in rhythm or music, especially if you're going to listen to it over and over again. It's a lot easier. See, after a while of doing this, you start to learn the little tricks that your ego plays to keep you, and then it only appeals to those that appeal to, because the Course says that the people that will be sent to you will need you the way you are, and the way you are is best for them at their level of understanding. So people who would be sent to me as a teacher by spirit would be the people that say, the way that you do it really works for me. Or this really, but not the ones who are saying, I don't like that music. Then I go listen to somebody else. That's all you have to do. Just go, don't listen to me. But they actually expect me to change because they don't like it. And then I'm going, well, the truth is, you're never upset for the reason you think, so it's nothing about the music that's really upsetting you. That's why it wouldn't do any good for me to change it. Because it's not really what's upsetting you. What's upsetting you is what's being said, and you want to get away from it. And so you're using that as an excuse to feel separate from me and to get separate from me. And so that's why I don't try to change anything about myself for someone, which is not the same as saying I won't take into consideration what people say to me and then see if there's something about that I can relate to. But I know now, after almost 40 years, somebody that loves me will never try to change me just because they don't like the way I express my personality. That's different from abuse and misuse. Just because you don't like, I like to watch TV and you don't mean I need to change that for you. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And if you're going to live with me, either you're going to watch or not, but you're going to give me no hard time about it. Right? Doesn't mean you have to do exactly what I say or what I do. But we are not going to be condemning and judging, and we'll come up with a way for both of us to have a win-win about that. Which usually is, let me live in my place and you in yours. Which I love. It's like, I wish I had thought of this years ago. It's hard to be by yourself when you kind of like don't like yourself. You know. And sometimes people are not alone because they don't feel centered in themselves. And then some people, their main lesson does come through living with someone. And that's the perfect thing for them. But you need to know what's right for you. And if you are one of those people that got to have somebody with you all the time, please have somebody with you, just like what Megan was saying, that's going to remind you of your sinlessness, your guiltlessness, that you are not a victim and they are not a victim. And what can we achieve together? It's funny how people look at me so strange when I say, do you and your partner have a common purpose, common vision, common goal? Is there something are you trying to have an evolutionary relationship? Do you want to grow together? You know, it's like, huh? No, that's not. The mind is more important than the body. The mind is more important than the body. The consciousness is more important than the body. That's not negating the joy, the pleasure you can have with the body to tell somebody that. But you know you get bored with the body if the mind is not there. You know you do. People like to say, what happened to the honeymoon period? You're not using the relationship for what it's meant to be used for. That's why you're bored with each other. It wasn't created for your ego's fantasies to be taken care of.
No matter how disappointing that is.
That's another one of those statements that you have to hear. Well, I don't have to believe that, you know. But it's not. You're not here to serve me in the sense that my ego specialist would want you to serve me. I used to think of people purely in terms of the fantasies they could fulfill. I know y'all look at me like y'all never done it. It's all about that really poor Earl. He had fantasies about someone. I love how we do that. Instead of going, yeah, you right. I got fantasies. I got scripts for everybody. That's what we'll say one day. We will never let any one of us feel alone in anything when we wake up. That's the beauty of going to AA and other things like that. Why? Because you're sitting in a room that y'all are people who are all willing to admit they got things that need to be dealt with, and they're the same. But spiritual people, they don't do that. You'll say something, and we'll literally look at each other like, we really, rather than going, I felt guilt too. I've gone off and acted a damn fool too sometimes. That was me behind the bush watching my ex-boyfriend. I've been there. Everybody made the drive-by. You know what I'm saying? If they're local, they made their drive-by. If they was really special.
That's the internet creep.
That's the internet. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And I love how the Course says right here, say you may believe that this position is too extreme. That's what we were just talking about. That we create everything in a way that we die because we choose to. Or everything that happens to us is what we choose. He said, you may believe this position is extreme, and that means too inclusive to be true. It couldn't include everything. I'm willing to believe I chose my prosperity, or I chose my bank account, but I certainly didn't choose to be sick and go to the hospital right? If you have the gift of everything, can loss be real? If we've been given everything, how can you lose anything if you've been given everything? I tell people often, I am very wealthy and rich and abundant in everything that matters. And I can say that in total confidence. I have loving people in my life, the truth. I see myself more innocent than I ever have. I don't feel alone. You know, everything that matters, I have. Everything that doesn't matter, I'm wishing for. Sound like all of us on the toilet. One day we will be all together. That's how innocent we'll be. That's some serious innocence right there. Sometimes I listen back to my class, I can't believe what comes out of me. I said, I didn't say that, did I? No wonder I'm banned from A Course in Miracles groups on Facebook. Okay, I'm not holy enough. Okay. Can pain be part of peace? Can grief be part of joy? I love these questions. Can fear and sickness enter a mind that only has love and innocence? So, okay, so if I have fear and sickness, then I know that there is not only love and innocence in my mind. That's all that means. It doesn't mean I have to put myself down. It's just a reality check. If I have fear and grief or sickness, I'm not going to beat myself up. It just means, Earl, you need some forgiveness work. You need to let go of some grievances. Then it says, truth must be all-inclusive. If it's the truth, it's got to be true all the time, and it's all-inclusive, and there can't be any exceptions. The truth, of course, talks about the no exception rule. If it's true, if you can think of one exception, it's not the truth. So if you say you love me and you don't love anybody else, I don't believe you really love me. That's the way I feel about it. Now, that's not the way the world looks at it. The world demands that it be the opposite. You better say you love nobody but me. Anybody remember that? Some of y'all might be doing it right now. Don't want to admit it. Okay? So if it leaves anybody out, according to the Course, it's not really love. It's probably specialness. Right? And then that's where you start to use the specialness in that relationship to learn how to move toward love. It flips. So my special relationship really becomes my holy relationship when I decide I want to use that relationship to wake up to the truth of who I am. Yes. Right? And it seems to me that that should be the way most people would like it to be if they really are in love with the person they say they're with. Instead of getting terribly depressed, which I see often. Instead of being excited when I say, oh, start practicing this on your partner or your child or whoever you got special relationship. That's who you should be most forgiving, the most freeing, the most compassionate. You just watching this. You know, because that's who they also think they have the most what? Grievances with. So now it becomes, oh my God, my mom, that's a special relationship. I hate my mom. You know, well, that's where you should start. With who you have a misperception of. You know, but don't focus all your attention on them is my suggestion. Make sure that you are still extending to the ones that's easy to love, that you feel so good being around, that it's almost like me filling this cup up with water and then it's just overflowing and everybody's able to get the overflow, but the cup stays full all the time. See, that's what we're supposed to be doing. It's supposed to be an overflow. You're so full that it's not any loss to you for anybody to get the overflow because your cup is still full. But if you don't have nothing in the cup, then you're going to be looking out to make sure you're going to just sip it. And then you're going to make sure nobody else can get anywhere near it. Right? Yeah. So, you know, when you have a lack consciousness, you can't give people freedom. You can't give, that's why you're jealous, insecure. And if you really want somebody to want only you and only want to limit their affection to you and everything to you, if you really want it, you're going to have it. That's what we just read. So stop saying you want it and you don't have it. If you don't have it, you don't really want it.
That's true.
That's the truth.
That's the truth.
That's the truth. Yes, but, yes, but, yes, but, yes, but. Okay, that's okay. That's all right. Let's have to go ahead and get that out. You know, and let people say that, right? Yeah. So remember that you're supposed to accept no opposites, accept no exceptions, because if you accept any exception, you're contradicting the truth entirely. And don't forget, you have an inner teacher, you have the Holy Spirit, you have the divine, you have God. You cannot do this alone, 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 and you have more help than you could possibly imagine. And the only thing we're being asked to have is a little bit of willingness. The power of decision, the Course says, is the last remaining power we have, thinking that we are in bodies separate from God, is that we can decide differently. And all we're being asked to do is decide on the direction we want to go in, the Course says, and then it says everything else will be added and given to us. So once you decide you're going to fulfill your function to be a living demonstration of the benefits of the knowledge and connection with God will give anybody, then you will watch your whole life change. So I'm willing to be the embodiment of Christ consciousness, even though I don't know completely how to do it. That's what I want. I want to be the embodiment of love, the embodiment of real love. That's what I want. And it says out of that, everything else will be, obstacles will be removed before you even get to them. So it doesn't mean the people who made the transition was any less loved by God than the person who didn't. That's the other thing. I got to hear people go, well, God was really with me. Everybody else went over the cliff and everybody else, was gone. But God was really with me. So God wasn't with the other folk. Actually, maybe they're the ones. Maybe they're the ones. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, they're the ones going, oh, poor them. They're still in the body. We are unlimited spirit again. There is no Visa or MasterCard to pay. So let's acknowledge us for hearing this much. So let's let this much come in with us today. Yes. So we'll do the donation aspect of it. And then I got one little thing I'm going to end on. Those of you online, if you'd like to make a donation, just go to earlpurdy.com. Appreciate that so much as a full-time teacher. And I'm available for clarity sessions for those who want to get past some blocks. And also I've been an astrology and a numerology sole purpose for over 40 years. So if you'd like to have a reading that's completely focused in utilizing the truth, you came here, there's a way for you to have the kind of life you want, and you're open-minded and you take advantage of that. Go to my website, it explains my clarity sessions, as I call them, in detail. And you can self-book an appointment right there online. I've had some new information that Spirit's been given to me that has been so helpful, especially in utilizing the astrological and numerological aspects of my sessions. Those of you who are tempted to judge me saying I teach the course and I do astrology, there's one thing I like to say to you. That the Course in Miracles says God will use everything you've ever learned to wake you up and to bring the truth to you. So it's not about judging what anybody, it was astrology that eventually led me to the Course in Miracles. So sometimes we judge people and judge what they do. Thank you.
Yeah.
When we don't know anything about it.
Right.
But again, I feel so good to know, again, those who are for me will find me. Mm-hmm. And that's in every area. I went out to hear this man the other night. And and I've said this before, when I go into a place, I always say, Holy Spirit, you know who would enjoy getting to know me and connecting with me and spending time with me tonight. Sometimes I've closed my eyes and done that and opened my eyes and the person was standing right in front of me. And it freaked me out, And one time it was somebody, I remember, was, I was like really attractive, and I went, wow, I wonder what it'd be like to kiss that person. And they were like, they back to me and they was like standing and they stopped. It's a true story. And they stopped and they turned around and looked at me and walked over to me and kissed me. Wow. It's like, I got on the elevator one day, and the young lady just got on the elevator and just hugged me till she got to her floor. Never seen her before in my life, and then got off the elevator and left. I was sitting on the floor after I said that at the club, listening to this incredible band, that was blowing my mind. It was so good. And one guy came up and asked me if he could sit next to me. And then he asked me, then he was talking about how awesome it was for us to be in the same place together. And then he left for a while. He came back with the CD of the band that I was listening to because I wanted their music. Without me saying anything, he came back and he gave it to me. And he whispered in my ear as he gave it to me because it's kind of loud. He said several really beautiful things. And he said, "Be strong, I believe in you." And then he left. Then another person walked by and just, "Hey, you want some water?" And then he gave me a thing of water. I was like, wow, it's the same thing happened when I went to the Pride gathering yesterday. Same thing. The Course says that, those who are like you will recognize their own, and those who aren't like you will think you're like them.
Yeah.
So even that's going to give you peace. They're going to think you like them if they don't think like you,
Yeah.
And then those who are like you, then I received it, but I didn't. Same thing. The young lady came up and was just really, really loving and friendly. But I had to remember, don't plug into the drive to get. Okay, these people are showing up, male and female. Don't get into, oh my God, hey, this might be a hookup here, They'll go straight into get consciousness, because then that's all you attract, people with get consciousness, But then I've gone to places and said that, and nothing happened. Nobody came up, nobody did anything. Then I knew wasn't nobody there I needed to be hanging out with that night for whatever reason without condemning them. When you really get to the point that you really believe that everything is for your own best interest, then you let whatever is be what it is. Yeah. And you'll realize that whatever it is the best it could be. These are the best people that could possibly be in my life in this room right now, in this moment, and then watch it on Facebook Live. Mm-hmm. Why? Because you're here. Out of all the beings in the entire universe that I wanted to spend time with right now, it was you.
And we are for you.
Yeah.
Thank you, dog. Thank you. So it's mutual. That's what I'm saying. Isn't that a cooler way to look at it? Isn't that a bunch that whatever's going to come to us right now is going to come through each other? And what we did today was let each other know we weren't alone in our weirdness. Isn't that wonderful to know that we are not by ourselves? So there's one line I want to finish for about 1 minute together. Because the Course says the number one thing is repetition. The power of decision is my own power. Let's say that. The power of decision is my own power. Let's claim it. The power of decision is my own power. The power of decision is my own power. And we say it for each other. The power of decision is your own power. It's your own power. You have the power. You have the power of decision. You have the power of decision. You have the power of decision. I have the power of decision. You have the power of decision. I have the power of decision. You have the power of decision. We 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 have the power of decision. Whoa! Whoa! Give it up! Woo! Mighty companion. Don't forget, I got 3 Facebook Lives, Sundays, 1 o'clock Mountain Time on Facebook, the Earl Purdy page, and then Tuesdays, The Way of Mastery, 7 o'clock Mountain Time, and then Thursday night, Hardcore Course in Miracles. So, 7 o'clock Mountain Time. Don't forget, the Course says it's about remembering, not analyzing. Remembering what? You don't suffer loss except it's your decision, but you also have happiness and peace and joy and abundance because it's your decision. You may have loneliness that you say is your decision, but you could also have incredible companionship that's satisfying at your decision. So the power of decision can also be used in a way that we love what we have chosen for ourselves. And if you want to keep around something that you love, let it know let them know you appreciate them,
Yeah.
for real. Gratitude to keep it there and expand it. Not appreciating it, Cole says it'll be gone. You don't have to worry about it. If you want something to be gone, just don't appreciate it. That's how you get rid of stuff you don't want. That's it. So if you appreciate your anger, guilt, and grievances, it'll be around, right? You know, if you appreciate the innocence, joy, and peace that's you, and the people who give that to you, then they will be around. So thank you for showing up. Hugs are available. I love y'all. Thanks for showing up. What you want to make?
Yeah, so tea and taro is going on this afternoon at my house. So just give me a little bit of a running head start. We start around 3 o'clock.
And your address?
It's 3232 York Street.
I was having a dramatic announcement.
So it's 3232 York Street, so it's literally about a mile north of here on York Street. So I would love if you guys could make it. It'll be going till about 7, so feel free to drop in or out whenever. You're innocent, and we do it about once a month. So if this month doesn't work out, just know that it will happen again.
It's really great. It's fun, and also we'll be doing readings and
3233?
connecting.
3232
York Street.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Okay. I love y'all. Don't forget. Share the video. Share the video. Share the video. Share the video.